This video is essentially an adaptation of a blog post I wrote back in 2020, and since the script borrows a lot from it. The reasons? 1. The Nightmare Before Christmas has turned 30 years old this year. I'm not too crazy about myself compared to Henry Selt's true masterpiece Coraline, but I can understand why it's both a long-running Halloween and Christmas tradition. And 2. What I'm going to talk about is a topic that needs more traction. So without further ado, it's time to rant about a factual error that almost unironically pissed me off so much that a simple X, formerly known as Twitter thread, isn't enough to unleash my butthurt nerdiness. So long ago, in the far-off year of 2020, Netflix released a two-part docu-series, The Holiday Movies That Made Us, which was a spin-off of The Movies That Made Us, which itself is a sister series to The Toys That Made Us. Though I recently noticed they've since merged the two holiday episodes with the main Movies That Made Us series, instead of having them be separate. Either way, like its relatives, the holiday movies that made us is comfort food for pop culture nerds alike, whether you're already a hardcore fan of the episode's subject or not. The two films covered were Elf, and our main subject for today, The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Elf one in particular had me hooked with how it told the story of this now 20-year-old Christmas classic, with such interesting trivia as lawyers swarming the filmmakers due to them taking a little too much influence from Rankin Bassett's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Fazion Love wearing a Wanda name tag because his role was meant for Wanda Sykes, and the movie being partially filmed in an abandoned Vancouver mental hospital. I'm not joking. So when the Elf episode ended up as entertaining and informative as it was, I was excited to move on to the Night Before Christmas episode in spite of my very casual liking for the movie itself. This is gonna be a sweet treat.
1993, the world's very first stop-motion feature-length movie hit the screens.
Come again?
With the decade-long struggle to create the world's first stop-motion feature film...
Stop the cap! Stop the cap right now! Stop the cap!
Okay. What in the name of Will Vinton is this bullcrap? When I heard the narrator spread this gross misconception, I said to myself, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right! Now, I'm sure the people behind the That Made Us universe of docuseries generally deserve a lot of credit for putting together such amusing, high-quality, and presumably well-researched content, but claiming that The Night Before Christmas is the world's very first stop-motion feature-length movie? Are you serious? Come on, you guys aren't some casual at best animation fans who probably think Steamboat Willie was the first thing Disney ever made? If not the first animated short ever? You are a team of professionals with budgets and resources. Where were your proofreaders before you got disapproved? Just why? How? Of all my years coming across common animation misconceptions, from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the world's first animated feature film, to Reboot is the world's first all-CGI TV series, when that title actually belongs to the obscure French series Insectors. Go watch the Wacky Delis video on that debate. This is probably the first time I heard such a lie about The Night Before Christmas. In fact, I'd argue it's even more infuriating than the Snow White factoid. At least with the false claim about Snow White coming first, the specification of it being the first cell animated feature could be mundane enough to easily glance over, although one shouldn't be naive to think hand-drawn animation was the only form of the medium being experimented with during those early days. On the other hand, there's absolutely no excuse to casually say, Nightmare Before Xmas is the first stop-motion movie ever in world. Hell, it wasn't even the first American stop-motion film. That title belongs to a 1954 adaptation of Hansel and Gretel released by RKO, so it can't even call the aforementioned myth a sign of some USA superiority complex. I know Wikipedia isn't always a reliable source, but if you scroll down there are a list of stop-motion films made all around the globe, you'll find out that Nightmare is estimated to be not the world's first, but rather the world's 91st. And yes, even TV specials that are 40-something minutes or longer, such as Rudolph, ironically one of Tim Burton's influences for Nightmare, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, can apparently qualify as movies based on their duration. Oh yeah, and you'll see a number of cutout animated films on the list because, as a friendly reminder, stop motion isn't limited to 3D objects like puppet figures. With that said, you want to know what the actual first stop motion movie in the world is? Well, this particular list here says it's our old lost friend from Argentina, El Apostol from 1917, which is also believed to be the world's actual first full-length anime feature period. But when I was proofreading my script, I found out that the actual first anime feature isn't even El Apostol, but rather another lost film made a year or two earlier, Created, a cutout animation produced by, you're not gonna believe this, Pinto Kovic. Yes, Goofy, and ironically enough 2 of the 7 Doors, created the world's very first animated feature film, which currently survives for a handful of 35mm frames. What an unsung genius. That genuinely shattered my mind when I found this out. Now, the first one to fully use puppets like The Nightmare Before Christmas was the 1937 French film The Tale of the Frog, released just 8 months before Snow White, by the way. As for American stop-motion features predating Nightmare by a decade or more, there are some titles that shouldn't be too obscure for animation buffs, including Rankin Bass's 1967 Halloween flick Mad Monster Party, which I constantly forget to check out every October, and Will Vinton's 1986 classic The Adventures of Mark Twain, which you should at least be aware of for this frequent candidate for most disturbing moment in a kids movie.
Fools. What fascinations there are on this planet.
Again, what excuse did the people behind the holiday movies that made us have to claim Nightmare was the first? I'll be honest, I was so pissed off after hearing the narrator spit that lie out of her mouth, I actually switched the episode off and watched Jeopardy instead. Just a reminder that this was not too long after Alex Trebek's passing, by the way. Eventually, however, I did watch the rest of the Nightmare Before Christmas documentary.
That's good.
Unfortunately, they never corrected their mistake after saying it twice within the first 30 seconds.
That's bad.
Egregious factual error aside, the episode as a whole wasn't bad, and worth checking out if you're a fan of Nightmare. It had the entertainment value I expected after watching the Elf episode, and I liked how they presented the movie's production history, from detailing the early careers of Tim Burton and Henry Selick to some of the challenges it had to face, like Disney unironically asking, "What's this? What's this?" once this mischief toy of a film was complete, before it eventually grew its huge cult status. This is simultaneously a celebration of stop-motion animation, and a slap to the medium's face because of that bullcrap lie at the beginning. While I'm not immune to making the occasional one myself, factual errors are something I take pretty seriously, especially if they're being spelled out by people who should know better and could do better. Claiming The Nightmare Before Christmas was the world's very first stop-motion feature-length movie is enough to make animation historians like Jerry Beck and Sam Komorowski cringe, and late stop-motion leaders like Will Vinton roll in their graves. Not that they necessarily dislike Nightmare themselves, of course. There might have been even more mistakes like this that the people behind the holiday movies that made us and its sister series have made, but I simply forgot about them or never noticed. Either way, the Nightmare one sticks out like a sore thumb, more so than the more forgivable mistake of crediting Tim Burton as the film's director instead of Henry Selick. The many stop-motion movies that preceded Nightmare Before Christmas may be more obscure by comparison, but as historians, it's part of your job to unearth such obscurity. No popularity bias should be necessary. End of story. Okay, that wraps up this discussion piece. Let me know if you saw this particular documentary of The Nightmare Before Christmas, and if you were put off like me about that factual error claiming that it was the world's very first stop-motion feature-length movie. Again, I'm sure you'd like it if you're a fan of the movie, regardless of said error. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for more animation talk like this, hit the bell so you won't miss them, and share it with your friends and family. Also, feel free to leave a Christmas tree emoji in the comments to verify that you watched this video until the very end. Thanks for watching and happy holidays!